You're telling me you first met Alex Haley when he wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X?
Right. He gave me an autographed copy. I still have it. In fact, I read it again 3 years ago.
Boy, that's
I
a
picked it up.
great book, isn't it?
Had a big effect on my life.
Had to.
Yeah.
Big effect on a lot of people's lives. The extraordinary success of Roots has been unequaled in publishing history. With his achievement as author of the book, Alex Haley firmly established himself as one of America's literary giants and an outstanding example to young people everywhere. And it's with great pleasure that we welcome him back to our show today with our theme, I guess, of great achievement. Here's the author of the best-selling book in publishing history, Alex Haley. Did you hear the little speech that...
Yeah, I was here then. I remember the day.
You remember the day?
Well, I remember the day that I first met Brother Jabbar. I was speaking, you were at UCLA.
Right.
And I was speaking there. You would maybe remember the name of the auditorium.
You
which
were at the Student Union, and you were telling us about your research that you just completed.
You know what? I went around and talked about researching Roots for probably 6 years. And I began to feel I never would finish it.
Yeah.
And
that's a possibility, too, isn't it? When
sure,
you get...
sure. You know, people would say oftentimes in the course of that book that I would talk it out. I mean, this would tend to be people who were in some way in the writing business, you know, publishers or editors or other writers. And I can understand that you easily can dissipate a subject. But with regard to Roots, I think that the genesis of this book was taught. It's oral history. And I think further that I really feel the book was meant to be in a spiritual sense.
Right, absolutely.
And I say that now because of the things which have happened as a result of it. For instance, books just don't come out and go wild as that one did, as just selling, you know, the way it did. It sold, say, in a time when 80,000 copies is a bestseller.
Right.
And
hardcover.
Hardcover. And there was one day that Roots sold 63,000 in one day. And
a total of how many in hardcover, Alex?
About 1.6 million.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And
you got $10. It's hardcover.
Look here, let me tell you.
How much
if you'd asked me
hardcover?
about that 2 years ago, I'd have told you, no, I don't. Yeah, $10.
Just
you know,
2
that's
years
right.
ago.
That's right. And then also it has by now, it is either published in or it's in the process of being published in 24 translations, language translations around the world. And there's something about it that seems to touch all human beings. It totally transcends age, race, color, religious suasions, whatever. I think perhaps it has something to do with the fact that we all human beings have a family. We all have lineage. We have generations behind us. I was back in the green room a while ago, and I heard Brother Jabbar saying he was third generation here. And it just sort of flashed through my mind, well, how many generations preceding here, you know, in the Caribbean and wherever. And that is no less true of him or of me than of you, than of everyone in the audience or everyone in the viewing audience. No matter who we are or where we are, we have a long line of people. Let me tell you something. It excites me because it's also so universal. When the little boy Kunta in the book was about 4 years old, his grandmother Yesa died, and he was grief-stricken. And his father Omaro called him aside and said, "It is permissible to be sad because you loved your grandmother, but not grief-stricken. I must teach you something. He said, there are three peoples in every village. There are one, those who, like your grandmother, have gone on to spend the rest of time among the ancestors. There are two, those who, like you and me, are privileged now at this time to be walking around and talking here in this village. And there are three, those who are waiting to be born into this village, who will take my place and your place as we become the elders and thence the ancestors. And that which Omar Kente told his son, pardon me, in a little African village 200 some years ago, is no less true today in this village of Los Angeles, or the village of Peking, or the village of Stockholm, or wherever in the world people are. We are all in one another phase. That's it. No matter who we are, whatever trappings we wear, whatever titles we wear, when it gets down to the bottom, we are in one or another phase. And that's where it is.
Could you honestly walk into a ghetto and say to children there that if you persist, you can rise in this country to be anything you want to be, and not be embarrassed by what you were saying?
Well, I wouldn't say I'd be embarrassed, but if I walked into a ghetto to say this, and I have done it, I never have done it, and you could ask, neither has he, I know without even asking, without a very deep feeling that you're asking an extreme, almost ultimate effort of them. Because I don't think most people really realize what boundaries, psychic, more than physical, a ghetto erects around people. How people are affected by it. You know, for instance, a great many people, most people in this country, don't really physically know what a ghetto is because they never lived in one. And yet, if it were posed to them that your child tonight must go into a ghetto and spend the next year in one, they would be ready to die before that would happen. So even the image of one is that frightening. So if we have that fright about the image of one, then what about the fact of one? You know, how many children are there who by age 10, having grown up in a ghetto, know more of the wrong things, the wrong examples, the wrong attractions than it is possible to list? You know, that's really something. I know there's a say in terms of Brother Jabbar's thing as basketball, and something has always struck me a lot is I travel a lot, you know, really a lot. And around this country, it's almost like a surrealistic ballet. Evenings about as twilight begins to become dusk, you can drive around in the ghetto areas in any city in this country of any size, and you see these youngsters in the playground getting the last shots in on that hoop up over there. How many times have you seen it? How many times you do it?
Do it every day.
You know, and what you see is every one of those kids is him in their heads, or they Wilt, or they're somebody, the doctor, you know, or whatever. And that's what makes it so important that they are role models, because they help them dream. And that's the way that most of those who come out, say, via the medium of sports come out. They have somebody to help them dream out. And that dream helps you work out. One of the things that we ethnically need, and I feel very good about it in a writing sense, is that now when I go around a good deal, many youngsters come up to me and they will say something like, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to write a book. I remember very vividly, a little girl came in with little pigtails sticking out, bristling practically, and she said, I'm going to write a bigger book than you. And I said, you go, honey, you know.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that let her at that age indeed start thinking about writing a book, as opposed to many of the other things that she might think about. And we just need more people who are involved in other types of role models. We need people to aspire to be scientists, to be this or that or the other. You know, it's just what one of the major things Roots did, it kind of replaced Tarzan and Jungle Jim with Kunta Kinte. Now, that's one of the main things, you know. And that's very important, not only for black people, but as it has turned out, as I was saying earlier, it seems to have transcended color or whatever, and it seems, I gather from responses I get at the office or when I'm moving around talking with people, that it seems to have meant about as much to white people as we phrase, people of European lineage or whatever, in the sense that we have all been given a new perception of black people, of black heritage, of black lineage, and so forth. And that is not just important to blacks, but it is important to us all, because we have been dealing with something which was previously, distorted and which was negative, and that hurts everyone.
Alex, at the moment of your great success, were you shocked by the critics who arose?
Well,
rather than to
I
be
was,
able to
yes.
bask in 100%?
When it first happened, I was, and indeed I was.
I couldn't believe it when somebody announced that you had been adopted, and it wasn't true.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's the most popular one of the jokes.
Right,
yeah.
But then there were some that weren't jokes.
Yeah, there were critics who came who weren't jokes. Like I had lawsuits alleging plagiarism, and jocularly, sometime I say that, it took me 12 years to write this book, and I really typed faster than that to have copied the book from somebody. But then after these suits and things were made, these charges were made, I began to mature. I did a lot of maturing in the last, say, 10 months. And I began to learn things about how human nature works. Among them and many people came up who are older in success, say, than I, and told me things that I really had not been aware of. And they are that if you are successful, you may count on it, you may anticipate it, that there will be people who, for one or another reason, will attack you or seek to detract from you. And that is true no matter what it is you're in. It could be in sports, it could be in writing, it could be in your business, whatever business, it doesn't matter. That's just part of the thing. But if you deserve to be successful, you will endure. That's about the way it's a seasoning process, and that's the way I feel about it now. I really don't have any apprehension about the say result of these charges, because I know how many times, how many years, how much work went into that particular book, and how much work goes into whatever I do.